The music and the performance and the fashion are one. I don't separate my art from my life. It is one whole thing.
Hi, Tom.
Hi, Patrick.
I'm Patrick.
And I'm Tom, and this is Chewing on Pearls, the show where we dissect and decipher Lady Gaga's chameleonic career and its impact one pearl at a time.
So, we're back.
We're back.
We are back.
We're so back. And I feel like we have a lot to discuss. I mean, a lot has been going on in the Gaga world, but there's a special lady.
So, you know that lady in red?
Yeah.
She's got a friend that lives in a house in the woods.
Yes, the lady with red hair.
The lady with red hair.
Yeah.
Yes. We're doing something a little different today. We're talking about LG in relation to another mutual fave of ours and storied musician, artist, icon, Florence Welch of Florence and the Machine.
Iconic diva. I feel like another, like you said, one of our shared main girls. And when we talked about doing this, it was kind of like a no-brainer, I feel like.
Yeah, there's some interesting parallels right now in Gaga and Florence in kind of 2025, like what is going on currently between the two of them. So Florence released her most recent album, Everybody Scream, on Halloween.
Yeah.
The album is fantastique. If you haven't listened, go check it out. Gorgeous, beautiful, heartbreaking.
Yeah. Very visceral.
Visceral. And just like a testament to, and a lot of, I have seen some like mixed reviews and criticism of the album, but I think the through line is this kind of like reclamation of classic sound, which made me think a lot about the press coverage for Mayhem.
Yeah.
And the parallels of where they are in their careers and kind of where they're headed in this like next trajectory of life as like a established woman in music who has like made an impact that is undeniable at this point.
Yeah. I think a lot about the way that Florence and Gaga's last albums were these like pandemic moments too.
Right.
Chromatica and Dance Fever. And I think part of the sensation that the public and that like music fans is feeling right now that's like Gaga is back, Florence is back, is simply by nature of they were unable to do a full press run, or they didn't want to. They could have been on Zoom with like a late night show host or whatever. But it felt like for both of those albums for them, they were both kind of letting the music speak for itself and kind of like taking more of a step back. And now we do see, I mean, this year we've seen Gaga do so many interviews and this kind of a press junket that is reminiscent of her imperial phase. And now you can't really look anywhere without seeing Florence either, which feels like different for her in terms of the release of Dance Fever. But also like the albums preceding that as well.
Yeah.
Like she would always do the Apple Music, Zane Lowe thing.
Right.
But like maybe a little Graham Norton.
Yes, a very localized, like UK-centric press.
And then kind of tour and have a couple videos and that's it. So it's interesting to see her doing more talking about her work this time.
And talking about Gaga.
Yes.
Which is why we thought that it just felt very timely because Gaga and Florence in recent days have referenced each other indirectly and directly.
Yeah.
Which has people excited for a potential moment of who knows, maybe live performance.
Didn't you tell me that they'll be in the same city at some point?
Yes, at some point. I think in April, maybe? I don't know. But that is to say, Gaga, currently in Europe, working her way through the Mayhem Ball leg over there, on October 29th, performed Hey Girl, the infamous collaboration with Florence Welch from Joanne.
Yeah.
For the first time ever.
Yeah. 9 years after its release, by the way.
Insane.
Which I think is another Gaga song that you and I both love so deeply and is deeply misunderstood by fans, and fans are quite divided on. So it's cool now to see people sort of like checking it out again and listening to it with new ears. And,
People being like, I didn't know Lady Gaga and Florence Welch had a song together.
Right. Like, give this song its flowers. I think what's super interesting going back in time is just the timeline parallels for Florence and Gaga. I think they're very different artists from an outside perspective, but I actually think they're quite similar in terms of the way they speak about their artistry. It's interesting. But they both debuted in the late aughts.
Yes.
And they've had 17, 18-year careers at this point. And I mean, their debuts couldn't be more different, right? Like, it's hard to even describe or to talk about them at that time.
I think what makes them similar is how singular they were.
Yeah.
Both of them.
Yeah.
And that was if it wasn't the product, it was the process.
Right.
There was similarity there.
Right.
Like the way they approach their projects and the way that their projects are executed. And like you were saying about Dance Fever and Chromatica, these albums that, I'll say it, were stunted by the pandemic and robbed of the full experience, are so much about movement.
Totally.
And Gaga and Florence, it really is about the performance and the live performance, which, so Gaga does Hey Girl. Florence, in a way, maybe that's signaling back to her, covers Abracadabra, a mashup of Witch Witch and Abracadabra for Sirius XM.
So
shortly after.
Yeah.
So that in the world of fans, people are like, is this a hint?
Right.
Is there something going on?
Right. What's happening? Gaga commented on the TikTok clip of Florence covering Abracadabra and said something like, absolutely breathtaking, queen flow, heart emoji. Like, someone that Gaga obviously has collaborated with, but also I think recognizes from like a purely artistic standpoint. And like you said, when they both debuted, they were singular. I think part of that is they had, and Florence kind of alludes to this on one of the tracks on her album, they both had many contemporaries who were like vying at the same time, and both of them kind of like rose to the top,
right?
Just by sheer nature of, I think, their talent and like
passion
and the way what they were doing spoke to the public at large. So it is interesting, despite how different like Gaga the Fame and Florence Lungs are, they at the time were debut female solo albums that like defined an era of music,
right,
in like the popular culture, in very different ways. Something that I love thinking about is, especially right now, we've talked about the visuals for Mayhem, particularly for the Mayhem Ball, The Art of Personal Chaos, being this sort of dark, there's the skull, there's all of these allusions to death and all of this stuff. And Gaga has played with that in the past, but has also strayed from that as well.
Right.
And Florence's version of that, like she has done the like fire and brimstone as well, but she's also done more of like a lighter witchy thing too, like more of a hippy dippy,
a naturalist.
Yes. Yeah. And so it's interesting right now, they seem to be like on the same kind of page of that.
Gothic dream.
Yeah, Gothic dream. And I think that's kind of fun to see. Thinking about Florence as a witch is not a new thought.
Right.
Thinking about Gaga as a witch isn't necessarily how she's perceived in the public eye, but I almost think of it like Florence is the last witch of her kind and Gaga is the first witch of her kind.
Right.
And not to say that they're both like so deeply influenced by things that came before them and are both visionaries for the future, but there is this like different language through which I think they are communicating essentially the same feelings on
Right.
these two albums.
Yeah.
Which is fascinating stuff.
Yeah.
You know, Florence isn't going to put out a song that's like, we about to be up all night. I mean, maybe. I don't know. I don't know.
I mean, Florence is putting out that song that's like, I'm up all night moving the furniture around my house because I can't.
Exactly.
Like, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And like you said, I think both albums touch on the thrill of live performance.
Yeah.
And that's like what links them.
Yeah. Bringing it back to, you know, when Gaga was doing press for Joanne and talking about Hey Girl, the only collaboration on the album, and how, you know, she was working on the song and this idea and she knew that it had to be with a woman. She was quoted saying, I just thought, who do I want to sing with? And then she was like, Florence Welch, because she's really, to me, if not the best, one of the greatest vocalists in the world. And I would have to agree.
I would have to agree as well. Singular is the only way that you can describe Florence's voice.
Right.
No one
and I
sounds
do
like
think
her.
it's notable that both Gaga and Florence have talked about in press for Mayhem and Everybody Scream how they tried to use their voice and push it to the limits.
Totally.
And you can hear it in both projects. And I mean, they both have incredible, robust vocal capabilities, but the way that they're using their voices is different, arguably, on these albums.
I think also about their ages and being women in the music industry. I think both of them have spoken at length during these press cycles about being a woman in music, and thinking about them both being in their late 30s, on the brink of 40. And then I think about like Ray of Light, which was Madonna's project at that time. And I think about Eusexua, and I think about like Cher at the time, at that age, was putting out her self-titled, and Heart of Stone was in her early 40s. And like how like the clarity of those projects as a response to that it takes truly 2 decades for the music industry to take a woman seriously. Like, you know what I mean? Like, why is it that is like touted as this like golden age for female musicians? It's because it takes a fucking long time for people to care.
And the lyric, the Breaking My Bones getting 4 out of 5 on Florence's project.
Totally.
It's like, yeah, she literally is hurting herself, channeling like the most embodied performance ever, and still it's like, well, 4 out of 5.
Right. I also love the lyric on her album that's like, I'll be up there with the 10 other women, and all the men on the 100 greatest albums of all time. And I think that that's a very brazen way of saying what Gaga is alluding to. I think Gaga has a different relationship to the public and speaking about the music industry because of her superstar status.
Well, and we also have to think about, like, I mean, Gaga is a pop musician. Gaga is writing pop songs. So, you know, at the end of the day, she's thinking, you know, we're in the era of Brat. Not that Charlie is the only person that's ever been diaristic, but this kind of, I feel like there's been this shift back to, it's all about authenticity, and it's all about like sharing your deepest, darkest feelings as an artist. And so, you know, Gaga is still writing pop music, and she's thinking about universality. She's thinking about, you know, channeling her experiences, but also like what's going to fit into the structure of this pop song that I'm building. Whereas I feel like with Florence, there is still this like level of musicianship and like crafting of like building a world and thinking about lyrics, but now it's feeling a little bit more. I think what's nice about this album is that there's this contrast between this really ethereal, otherworldly speak and then things that are like very real and very clear. Right.
Which again makes it feel like an exploration of her past projects in many ways. Like I listen to Everybody Scream and I hear Lungs, Ceremonials, How Big, How Blue, How Beautiful, High as Hope, Dance Fever. Like I hear, not that everyone's work needs to be compared to what they've done before, but I hear the like diaristic quality of High as Hope in moments. I hear this kind of like medieval ethereal thing that's kind of a Ceremonials Dance Fever vibe. The heartbreak of How Big, How Blue, How Beautiful is like fully here, and then like some of the sounds are just like the roots of her debut, Lungs. And people I say people, but like fans, non-fans, critics have been writing and talking about Mayhem as this kind of like tour of Gaga's lineage up to this point, that it's a landmark project for her because it speaks to all that she's done. It's a reminder, and I feel like Everybody Scream is that as well. And we could really unpack that. Like, why does it have to be that way? You know, for a record to have this kind of acclaim, especially by a woman. It's a whole conversation, but I think it's potent and powerful and incredible. I don't know.
Yeah. I do think it's interesting that critically Florence is kind of experiencing a little bit of like a meh for this album, where to me as like a longtime fan and listener, it's just like such a brilliant piece of work. Like every song, even the ones that maybe don't feel like they have the same level of levity. It's like I think about a song like Buckle that I'm just like, that's just a really well written performed song, and co-written with Mitski, and it's like it's kind of a Mitski song, but it's like it's still better than like half the shit that is being pushed and prodded and like. So even still, with this album that feels like such a victory lap and a return to form.
It's like she's being more rewarded for the songs that sound more like what the public thinks Florence and the Machine is, which is the wailing and the big production and the orchestra and the choir, just like Gaga is being more rewarded for songs like Abracadabra and like Disease than she is something like Blade of Grass. Like it's... Blade of Grass is an incredible song. Buckle is an incredible song. But it's with the commodification of like artistry, the commodification of music and women in music. It's sort of like, give us the thing that we already know we like from you. Give us Cosmic Love 2.0. Give us Bad Romance 3.0. You know what I mean? Like that's sort of what everyone wants. And something that I love about, you know, Everybody Scream is that it's 12 tracks. I think Florence has never been one to like overdo in that way. And I think that this is like a perfectly crafted body of work in the way that Mayhem, before she added, you know, even before she added Can't Stop the High, Kill for Love, do the motherfucking, let's dead dance on him. Like that to me was like a perfect like journey. And these women are storytellers in ways that I think the culture, unfortunately, that we live in doesn't have time for sometimes. And it's disappointing.
Well, and I mean, you know, not to open a huge can of worms to unpack, but I think there's so much emphasis now on like visual storytelling and like building a cohesive era, quote, for all artists. But like, I think with Gaga and Florence, like the world building has always been part of the project.
Totally.
Before anyone knew who they were.
Absolutely.
You know? And I do think I'd be remiss to not acknowledge and mention the kind of joint struggle that these women and artists have experienced with not only misogyny in the industry and abuse of various forms, but also substance and that challenging relationship. And, you know, I think one of the most like impactful songs to me on Everybody Scream is Drink Deep.
Yes. We talked about this the other night.
for kind of the dual metaphor where, you know, it's about this kind of, like in a literal sense, this fae people that are like, yes,
There's like a
come.
folklore to
Yes,
it. Yeah.
like we'll give you riches, we'll give you golds, we'll give you the finest wine, and then come to find out it's actually coming from your own self, and it's this kind of dark, like, oh, the fairies, but don't get too close because they can't be trusted. And it's this allegory for performance and fame, but then also the literal like drinking and consumption. And like when too much becomes too much. And you lose yourself. And you know, Florence is sober and has talked about her experiences with drinking and drugs, and same with Gaga. And you know, I think Gaga's relationship with sobriety is interesting because she's said these like really declarative things in the past and then has been seen like drinking an espresso martini. So it's we don't actually really know, and it you know, there's no judgment or anything that we are owed like in that world and realm. But I do think, you know, the Fame Monster was all about her fears of her addictions, and whether that be a substance, alcohol, drugs, or a love. I think Gaga and Florence share a lot of that history.
Yeah, totally. I think another shared element between them is this like we can talk about Florence and the folklore and the like pagan sort of mythology that she sort of brings into her work. We can talk about Gaga and the various themes that she brings into her work, but there always seems to be like a like Christian upbringing. That, I mean, Gaga's is more specifically Catholic. I don't know how Florence was raised, but even just that song Drink Deep, like thinking about her drinking of her own blood, like there's certain images like throughout Florence's work that still kind of come from the biblical place.
Well, I mean, resurrection is a huge theme on this album, and coming from Florence's own experiences with near death with her pregnancy.
Like, resurrection. I mean, she's alluded to being the female Jesus in the past. In past records, has that song Delilah. Like, there's always, I think she's interested in mythology of every form, even if it's a current like major world religion, like that mythology.
Well, and then there was remember when she got in hot water with, what video was it? It was off of Ceremonials, where it was like some sort of like tribal person in a mask, where people were like, I don't know if you, as like a white lady from England,
I mean, Dog Days Are Over got that too. But I
do think that it's like she is thinking about this kind of like spiritualist,
like pan-spiritual, and that being said, you brought up Ceremonials, which was such a huge, like, Lungs was huge for me. Ceremonials was, at that ripe age that I was of like 14 when Born This Way, Ceremonials, and I'm going to throw somebody else in the ring, like Born to Die were coming out, like those like worlds that were being built. Thinking about Ceremonials and Born This Way as these kind of like sophomore projects. I mean, The Fame Monster is considered an album by Gaga and by fans, but like their sophomore, like full-fledged bodies of work as these like highly produced, like people signing up and being like, I need to work with you. I will do whatever we are going to make the record. And really like living up to that idea of what a sophomore project is for somebody who's a solo act and has this like, incredible debut to sort of eclipse. And the similarities in the darkness between those projects is fascinating to me. And it sort of speaks to the times of like 2011, 2012, that era. There is like the struggle with fame, of course, but also this sort of like self-love thing, which I think speaks to, again, you mentioned addictions, but also like the mental health aspect of like the meteoric rise to fame that both of these women went through at the same time when the internet was exploding, and like having fans and seeing their faces and seeing them tweet you and all of that stuff.
Which is interesting because that is kind of the first time that Gaga and Florence are introduced to each other in a more intimate realm.
Right.
So Gaga, as part of her Born This Way press run in the UK in 2011 in May, did a surprise like pop-up performance at Annabelle's, which is like a really exclusive members only like nightclub in London. And Florence was an invited attendee.
As she should be.
Yes. And
we were there too.
Yes, we were there. One of my favorite pictures ever of the two of them was taken that night.
Episode cover ? Maybe. You'll see. It'll be in the carousel.
You'll find
at
out.
least.
Yeah. So it's interesting that like that is kind of when because they first met at the VMAs. Florence gave a quote in an interview where she like met Gaga at the VMAs when Gaga was in her meat dress. And she like didn't even realize that it was meat until Gaga got up on stage and was like, "Oh, Cher, hold my meat purse." And then Florence was like, "Wait, I'm borrowing a Givenchy couture dress and I just hugged this woman that's like in meat and now I have meat juice all over this garment that I need to return." Like, shit. So that was kind of like their first public introduction or whatever, but this is when it's like, oh, I want to know what they talked about. Like,
totally.
I want to know.
I feel like it was Looney Tunes.
Looney Tunes. 2011, Florence and Gaga in a room together.
Crazy.
Where there's copious amounts of alcohol.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Insane.
Yeah.
I think about, it's just so interesting. Like that era was, I think, impactful for us because we were teens and we could talk about how like when you're a teen, your taste is sort of being made. But that kind of what felt like with the projects Born This Way and Ceremonials to me, like you talked about, you know, on Mayhem and Everybody Scream, like they've both talked about using their voices to their full extent. Those felt like using their spiritual beings to the full extent.
Well, it was them being like, I might not get another shot at this.
Right. And also the industry and the people around them being like, we need you to be doing Gaga 5 music videos for this project. I think Florence toured Ceremonials for like a long ass time.
Right.
They were like, let's throw Paul Epworth at Florence. Let's throw every like hot European dance person at Gaga. Like that was sort of what it was. And I'm not saying that they didn't have a hand in selecting who they worked with. Of course they did. But like having all of that, you know, when the budget document leaked from Interscope to Gaga and it was revealed like just how much budget she had for Born This Way compared to everything before that and everything since. And I think about that kind of that moment in time where like all of these eyes are on you and like people's pocketbooks are relying on you and like funded, like the pressure of that. And again, the substance and the mental health, like there's so many elements, and the projects that came out of that time for both of them were these like kind of like masterpiece, magnum opus type things. I mean, I feel like generally people today would say that Florence's magnum opus is How Big, How Blue, How Beautiful. Maybe.
I feel like if you're a real one,
Yeah, but Ceremonials was like her.
I feel like Ceremonials was like the gen pop.
Yeah.
The general public. I always said gen pop. That's like a terrible prison coded. The general public is what I mean.
Yeah, totally. And it's just funny because it's like there are songs, deep cuts on Ceremonials and Born This Way that I think are like, you know, watching Gaga do this thing where she's bowing on stage to all of her discography and people being like, oh my God, Highway Unicorn. Oh my God, Fashion of His Love. Oh my God. Like,
oh my God, Sinner's Prayer.
Yeah. Right. I'm like, Florence doing Which, which I don't think was Ceremonials.
It was a deluxe track for
How Big, How Blue, How Beautiful.
But it was probably around.
Right.
Kicking around.
Just thinking about like, oh, Florence, like this is your moment. Take it. Like on your tour, like I'm trying to think of like a good Lovers to Lovers or like a deep cut from Ceremonials that speaks to what you're doing now.
Lovers to Lovers would actually be perfect.
That's kind of what's funny about these two albums, like Mayhem and Everybody Scream, is yes, it's this tour of like what they've done before, but it's almost like a tour of the non-singles.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I think Abracadabra is an exception, but it is sort of like, and maybe Blade of Grass, you could say is like her, you know, Gaga's Million Reasons moment or something on Mayhem, but like thinking about the Fame and some of the deeper cuts on that, the funky vibes, the downtown, Lower East Side vibes of that show up on Mayhem, and then thinking about on Lungs, even like a song like My Boy Builds Coffins, is something that I'm like, oh, I like that could be on this album.
Yeah. No, totally. I'm just kind of scrolling through, like looking at Florence's discography on Spotify right now, and like
Spotless.
Well, yes, but I do think it's also interesting too that, you know, she has done these like kind of one-off projects where she'll like put things together as like a collection and be like,
Moderation.
Yeah. Oh my God. Moderation is one of my favorite Florence songs. Just like a throw out there, like see what the kids are up
those
to.
Video game songs.
Yes.
For Final Fantasy.
Yeah. But then also it's like she has these like, water for drinking, not singing about, and it's like a compilation of all of her like aquatic water metaphor song. Like she's put together these like little playlists and compilations. Like that's what I think is so interesting and compelling about an artist like Florence is like the medium is music, but then there's all of this I don't know, world building that is through poetry and image collection and curation and kind of this like I don't know, it's living and breathing and evolving, and like something that she wrote 10 years ago is still rattling around, like, and will find its way into what she's working on now, which is how I feel Gaga works too. Totally.
I think they're both such writers at the end of the day, like songwriters, and like how does it happen that someone who has that ability is also like an incredible vocalist, an incredible performer, an incredible like visual artist as well? Like that doesn't happen, you know, super frequently. And then it's interesting to think about the ways that Gaga is regarded as that, and has had moments where she was not in favor with the public. And Florence has kind of like not always gotten those flowers all the time. I feel like the general public doesn't know so much of what she's done and made. And I guess I feel that way about Gaga too, but like with Florence, I think it's just at a different scale.
Well, I think she's like
Gaga's movie star now. It's a different thing.
Right. Well, I think on paper, Florence is like the most successful like British act, like contemporary act. Yeah.
Adele?
Oh.
Who?
Well, maybe in the rock sphere.
Adele stole the Grammys from Florence Welch and Lady Gaga.
But I'm like, Adele belongs to the world.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah. She's
She does.
She's
she
not
really
even
does.
British. She's from Adele.
Shout out to Adele.
Yeah. Oh my God.
Yeah, but
how can I forget about Adele?
Yeah.
Wow.
I feel like when we did our Glitter and Grease show, we kind of shaded Adele, and for that,
well, you know who else
is
shaded Adele? Lady Gaga.
Yeah.
On multiple occasions.
So I think one other moment, maybe you mentioned this earlier, but in an interview, Florence was asked, oh, you know, when you were making Lungs, like, what were you listening to? Like, what was the story? Like, they kind of like alluded to, like, were you just like upset? You were everywhere. Like, how could you not listen to yourself? And she's like, well, I wasn't, because I was only listening to Lady Gaga.
She's like, I didn't listen to anything else
at that time.
Yeah.
And I think that's such a fascinating, I love knowing when artists are listening to each other. And I also love knowing that, like, she could be influenced or inspired by something Gaga made in 2009.
Right.
But her music is like such a different thing.
And there was like another interview where they were like, what's inspiring you? And she was like, hold on.
The Bronte sisters.
Yes, Bronte sisters, Buffy the Vampire Slayer, and Lady Gaga. And
exactly.
It's like, exactly.
Yeah, she literally like sat down, listened to Mayhem, listened to The Fame Monster, read a book, watched all of Buffy and was like, I have
I'm
an
ready.
album.
Yeah, I'm ready. Get me in the studio. Yeah. But it's like, what an iconic pairing or a trio right there. The Bronte sisters, Buffy, and Lady Gaga.
Yeah. And like, there's something, I think also what it kind of speaks to is Gaga's reception in the public eye right now with Mayhem is spotless. People are like loving her. People are like, this album's incredible. The tour's incredible. I'm not denying that Florence didn't love Gaga during Art Pop or something.
Right.
You know, obviously she collaborated with her on her next project.
Right.
But there's something very like coherent and like well loved about when Gaga goes dark.
Yeah.
Like people just love that shit.
Yeah.
And I feel like for an artist like Florence, it would make sense that like in 2009, when Gaga's starting to like be freaky,
Right.
you know, like that's like that she's obsessed with Mayhem, you know, of course, like this kind of Gaga is so clear somehow when she's like dancing around a skull.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know.
Dancing until she's dead.
Exactly. What else to say? Let's talk about Hey Girl. Let's talk about 5'2".
I was just gonna say.
Yeah.
We gotta talk about it.
5'2" is this movie.
Yeah, so 5'2" is autofiction.
Literally.
Yeah.
Ooh, girl, that's a conversation.
More to come there. We'll get into that
yes.
on another day. But it is very sweet and fun to see Gaga and Florence interact on 5'2", and like them working in the studio in this way where it's just like they are both singing their fucking faces off at like Mark Ronson's house.
Yeah.
And it's just like back and forth between the two of them. And the Gaga was like very adamant about like, Florence was like, oh, I'll just sing the second verse. And Gaga's like, no, it's call and response.
Right.
Like, that's what we're doing.
Right.
It's like, okay.
Gaga has like a little fender bender in the driveway.
Yes.
And goes into the studio and Florence is already there. And Florence like consoles her.
Yeah.
Like, hugs her because Gaga's very like, I don't know what happened. I'm so sorry. Like, I'll pay for it. Like,
right.
And
Florence
seeing
is just
Florence
like,
kind of like regulate her is so
and Gaga's in like a fuck ass little hat.
They're like a gay couple.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then the funny little like where Gaga's like posting, like teasing in the studio or whatever. And Florence is like, how many followers do you have? And you could just post that? And Gaga's like, don't remind me. Like, I'm just trying to be like silly and fun and free.
Yeah.
And Florence is like, how many people are going to see that?
Right. I'm just dying. I mean, I would love to see them interact again in that capacity. I mean, I'm sure that one day.
Well, that's the thing is like, this is a theory that I have that I think Gaga, the people that she like really cares about and appreciates, she doesn't really have public moments with them.
Right.
It's like
She's
her industry friends. That's all private.
Yeah.
I mean, of course, like publicly when they're in the same room or whatever.
Do you think her and Florence like text? Do you think they text?
I think they probably have each other's numbers.
Like on their birthdays, maybe like, happy birthday, love.
Yeah. Or like Gaga's probably like, album is great. Fantastic. Loved it.
Right.
Or like,
Sends
congratulations.
flowers. Yeah.
Yes. Sends flowers or being like, we're both going to be in blah, blah, blah. We'd love to get dinner.
Right. Oh, God, I would love to be
Or like,
there.
see you at the Clive Parker Grammy brunch. Like, you know, like that
It's just so funny too because we're Tumblr girls. Let's be real.
We really
and
are,
at the time, there were these two images going around that were like, people were like, this is like Pokemon Day and Night for was it Day and Night for gays?
Some of that, yeah.
Where it's an image of like Twigs, Florence, Marina, and Lana, maybe.
Yes, yeah.
At a dinner, maybe not Lana, some Sky Ferreira. I don't know.
No,
somebody.
I think Alana might have.
Maybe
been
it was Lana, and then there's a photo of Katie, Madonna, Gaga, and somebody else. And people were like, "These are the two."
Like this is it, yeah.
The two genders.
Yeah,
you know.
yeah.
And it's just so funny to think of those two as like. I mean, they're the most similar across that. Yeah. And that's what's funny. I think that they are more similar to each other than Gaga is to the people she was in that famous Tumblr photo with, and that Florence with those people.
And you know what it is that connects them is the chops.
Yeah.
Like,
and the trauma.
Well, the chops and the trauma. The other chop. Yeah. But if you want to talk about like once in a generation talent, like that's what they share.
Totally. And Hey Girl is a sweet song. I mean,
It's a beautiful song. I love that song.
It's one of Gaga's, you know, a lot of Gaga songs are like love songs, you know, heartbreak songs. And you could like apply them to any situation. But she has these like few songs that are about friendship. And I think Hey Girl, and of course, Pinot Grigio Girls.
Yes.
Grigio Girls are the two. And so it's like this sweet moment where you're like imagining this like Italian American girl from the Lower East Side, like in her wig and her feather lash, and then this like, I don't know, South London kind of art girl being like walking home from the bar together.
Yeah.
And like how much sense that makes and how much it doesn't too. Yeah. And like the kind of 70s vibe of that song being a place of inspiration for both of them.
I just remember when that song came out, I just kept being like, but they love each other.
Right.
Like that was
right. Right.
like this like parasocial thing where I'm like, oh, they're best friends.
Right.
Yeah.
Of course they are. Hey girl.
Hey girl.
I would love, let's speculate. I'm like, now let's speculate.
Now let's speculate.
You know, Total Mayhem has been in the air. Florence on Total Mayhem. That's a big pipe dream.
That would be crazy.
Them performing together, I feel like would be a less insane.
Yeah, I feel like that's
possibility.
probably more realistic, but also feels kind of like, well, Gaga hasn't really brought anyone out besides Girl 1 and Girl 2 from Wednesday.
Yeah.
So I don't know, but maybe, I mean, or maybe it's just like Gaga will go see Florence. Florence will go see Gaga. Like,
yeah,
it could be as simple as that.
I would love to hear. We've heard Florence on a Gaga project. I would love to hear Gaga on a Florence project. I think that's like my dream situation, is to hear Gaga, our girl, like in that world,
right?
Sonically, I think would be very interesting. Especially, you know, like I could easily hear Gaga on a song that's along the lines of more along the lines of something like Buckle or Music by Men.
Right.
But it would be really interesting to hear her on a song like something along the lines of like Kraken or something Drink Deep, something that is very rooted in that Florence mythology,
right? And
not just like classic great diva songwriting,
right?
But like built in her world.
People always say like loudest song ever, like Demi Lovato, Christina Aguilera. This is loudest song ever, medieval version.
Yes. Lest we forget that Florence was up on stage.
Oh my God, with those divas wailing.
I
love
who
when
was
people
that a tribute for?
use that for like moment of silence and they post that clip. Yeah, who was that?
Who was that for? I don't know, but Florence was up there with like
singing,
some of the divas,
and Christina was up there with her custom microphone.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, okay,
like it is interesting the way that Florence kind of like backed off of all of that kind of like tomfoolery in the public eye. Like, she's not doing the awards shows. No. She's not doing the like. She like has a house in London and she loves it there.
Yeah,
and she said that she lets cats come and go as she's writing.
Yeah.
And then we have our girl who, the thing is, they're both like quite private, actually. But we have our girl who's like, you know, she's down to clown a little bit and like do the, you know, wear the couture and go to the red carpet and do the thing. Mm-hmm. So they are so different in so many ways, and maybe it's because we're both avid listeners, but it's easier for me to feel the similarities.
Yeah. I just think it's interesting now that they're both kind of having the same resurgence in the public.
Yes.
And it's so deserved, and like, I mean, their work has been quality the entire time, but
totally
this kind of like, it's quote quote cool again to like them and listen to them.
It is, as a longtime listener of any music artist, when somebody has a big moment like this, like with Charlie with Brad,
right?
I was like running around Chicago telling everybody to listen to True Romance, her first record, because I'm like, that's the one. Yeah. And it like some of the discourse online about Everybody Scream about Mayhem, I'm just like, but have you heard this?
I don't even know.
Because if you love this, you'll love this too.
Love all this
and like
shit,
this has been here, like just sitting there waiting for you to listen to it. They should just start a band when they're older, the two of them. just duo.
Oh my God, a joint tour.
Yeah.
That would be a gag.
Yeah.
Because I feel like a lot of people
theater
would,
tour.
a lot of people would think it would be unexpected, but it's like, no, it actually makes so much sense.
Right. It's just, yeah, like they both like just need Lifetime Achievement Awards at this point, and then also like 10 years from now, and also like 25 years from now.
Right.
Like, they deserve it all.
Or they like
artists.
run a record label or something.
Crazy.
Yeah.
For like witches of all types.
Yeah.
You know?
Like disenfranchised people. Yeah.
It's so funny that Florence has a song called Witch Witch, because there was a YA book that I loved as a teen called Witch Witch.
I know the book.
Yes.
I also read it.
And I always wondered if that was why, like, if she like came up with the title that way. It's not like Witch Witch is like the most,
Right.
you know, like anybody could come up with that, but like, and that's not shade, but like I said earlier, I think of them as being in that story, and the story is like all of these witches who have different abilities and different like, different abilities and interests and all of that. And like I said, I feel like they like are in different lineages of witchcraft, but they are sistren nonetheless. And with that, how do we end our episodes?
Yeah, literally. Well, if you made it this far,
consider that pearl chewed.
Yes.
Or this pearl. What should we say?
Does your jaw hurt?
Yeah. That's somebody commented that our outro should be consider this pearl chewed gavel slam.
Oh.
But I'm trying to think of something else. Anyway. And on that note,
yeah, I don't know what to say either.
Talk later.
TTYL.
Bye.
Bye.
Oh, stream Everybody Scream.
Yes, stream Everybody Scream.
Yes, absolutely do that. Yeah.
Everybody stream, mama.
Yes.
Everybody stream.
Yes.
Let you in.